Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I want to thank Rebecca and the entire Worker Justice Wisconsin team again for hosting this beautiful annual event and allowing us all to be in community with one another this morning. And I'm really grateful to share space with you all today too, because not only are you pivotal partners in this growing labor movement, but you are all each a community leader. So when I was told that the theme of today's breakfast was going to be sprouting the seeds of solidarity, it literally brought a smile to my face as I read Rebecca's email. And I felt like my own thoughts were starting to grow. And I know that there's actually great complexity to this quote, because it encapsulates in part the essence of what we are witnessing right now in history. The parts where we are seeing the flourishing and strengthening of organized labor movements both here in Wisconsin and across the country. From new unions for journalists and even video game testers to unionizing efforts of service industry workers and Planned Parenthood workers, this movement has not only welcomed numerous new workers with new talent and energy, but it has cultivated building blocks of community power. And I think as politicians, it's imperative that we are not just spectators to this growing power, but rather inspired by it and actively contributing to its growth. Specifically as state legislators, it's incumbent on us to amplify and prioritize the racial justice, which is an integral component of the labor movement. And it's also important to recognize right now that it is a manufactured crisis and fear-mongering tactic that the opposition to our movement is expanding upon and will continue to do throughout this election cycle. So if you are somebody with influence in your workplace, you are an elected official, you are somebody who considers themselves someone who can be a trusted messenger to others, it is up to each of us to fight these horrid anti-immigrant sentiments and make sure that workers everywhere feel represented and included. And while I'm incredibly grateful and have really learned throughout the last couple of years that unions inherently foster inclusivity and diversity. It's just part of the framework. It's at the heart of it. But there still remain so many workers from specifically underrepresented and marginalized communities who face constant barriers to organizing. And that's why I'm consistently and always so grateful to the work of Worker Justice Wisconsin, because they play a pivotal role in, yes, supporting these workers, but actually providing them with the tools so that they can have the agency needed to organize effectively, and then enabling them and supporting them in asserting their voices for the wages and the benefits that they rightfully deserve. And for those workers, who many of here are here today or their representatives are here, you truly are working to defy a system that is designed to overlook you and overlook them. And I think it's these workers that embody solidarity and the seeds of it the most. And I want to mention that the fight for workers must engage and extend beyond just their workplaces. And it's the work of the workers, especially in organizing, that you do, and then you actually become, and we become pollinators in the community. And what I mean by this is that sometimes policymakers like me and elected officials, and we have some amazing elected officials here today, Supervisor Whiteliner, Mayor Rhodes Conway, and I think Alder Vinegar. We need to do more than just attend our events, right? When these events, and I'm absolutely guilty of it, we have to recognize that the leverage and multitude of the relationships that workers build in their communities, both in their workplaces and in the broader community, is one that we have to uplift and learn from. And it's up to us really to translate these relationships into very tangible opportunities and policies that facilitate the growth of workers and unions. And this includes initiatives for policymakers like me to ensure that we are fighting like hell to repeal Act 10 and right to work laws. So workers advocating for justice are not only bound together in their struggle, as we often talk about, as we have this common struggle, but it's also workers, organizations, unions, your commitment to service and care and also to love that is so important to our communities. Because it's through these values of service, care, and love that we nurture our collective humanity. And that's so important right now in a time where I often feel like I'm watching humanity crumble. So I know for each of us and for many in our community, choosing hope is really fucking hard right now. But it's choosing hope in these times that is most courageous. And so I want to thank you all again for being here, for all the work that you do in the communities. And I encourage each of you to continue honoring your own courage as you fight and continue to fight for worker justice. Thank you so much for having me.